When you do a table, now, do you get a booth or do you get like an artist alley table? And if you've done both, which one do you feel is better for you?
That's a very good question. You should do this. I mean, this interview thing, you're doing well. Anyway, usually it's artist alley because the vendor booths are obviously, more expensive. But I've gotten vendor booths before when working with cons, and they were fine. But it was like in Artist Alley, it's just so much more personal. Well, because it's the artist, right? And also there aren't a lot of authors at cons usually. There's either like Kevin J. Anderson, who it's like an entire side of the end of one of the vendor aisles, right? So I mean he's huge. So and then there's me, who is I'm selling my books from the 6 to 8 foot table. And it works just as well. I didn't see any difference in the sales, and I thought the camaraderie in Artist Alley was really great.
When people are walking around in the con and kind of walking by your booths in Artist Alley, how do you engage them in conversation? Obviously, you're a gabby guy. You like to talk, and that's good. It's easy to get along with you. It seems like that way, but how do you start that conversation off without sounding, like you said, like a waterbed salesman?
So. Let's say you walk by the booth, you have a Xena costume, or not Xena costume. God, it sounds awful. You have your cosplay of a warrior, fantasy warrior woman, right? And yes. I see wearing that, and I see all of the care and detail and effort that you put into this thing, right? So I ask you about it. I'm like, did you do? I mean, usually they have, and so I'll say, hey, wow, you look cool. Are you Xena? And then they'll go, usually because these like 21-year-old girls, they go, Xena, what? No, I'm blah from this anime you'll never see, old man. But it brings them over to the table, and even if I'm not going to sell a book to them, I get to talk to them, give them a bookmark maybe. But it's not about selling to every person, but it's about showing real interest in people. Now, if I were at the, the Eureka vacuum convention, which I heard sucks. But anyway, I would, I don't know how I would get all excited about it if I were selling books. Like, oh, you like hoses, don't you? Well, hose like this book. Yeah, I don't know, but it's
that just came out.
So I give them the real. That's how I get people. That's how I get a lot of people over. Like, no matter what they've done for cosplay, whether it's kind of minimal, or it's. I mean, you've seen these, I'm sure. People dressed as the Predator. From they're like 8 feet tall, and they've got their feet in some kind of stilts or something.
They get some really intricate costumes, and I do usually run out in front of the table. I'm like, oh, let me get a picture with you. This is an amazing costume, and I'll get a picture of either of them or with them, and then I'll ask if I'm allowed to share it on social media. And
that's great.
It's a very good icebreaker.
Yeah. For sure.
Discuss a little bit more about how you get on panels and what that does for your sales.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing, and that makes you an authority to anybody who might be, sitting in on your panel. You're all of a sudden on a higher tier now because you're not just, some author slinging books out in Artist Alley, which is a good thing. Now you're
nothing wrong with that.
Now you're a professional, and you're schooling other people on how it's done.
Indeed you are. What you're saying is exactly right. Because remember, being on a panel, it kind of goes with that old adage, an expert is anyone from out of town, Mm-hmm. And you come in there, and they don't really know you. They've got your little, you got your little write up in the program or whatever on the website. But you come in there, and if you can dazzle them on a panel or at a solo talk, which is most of what I do. Because I'm, trying to give back a lot of value to the con, But on panels, you got to start on panels, right? You need to not be a bump on a log. I've seen people doing a panel, and they've either been asked to be on it, but usually they know the person doing it or something that they're interested supposedly and some kind of source on this subject, right? And they'll go there and just sit with their hands kind of folded on their lap or whatever, And then, it's like, oh, well, Jamie, tell us about yourself. Jamie, I came from Arkansas. Well, not Arkansas, because it's close to the Missouri border. Yeah, that's me. And it's like, oh, that's great. Wow, let me buy whatever you're doing. But you have to study up if it's not something that is absolutely, burned into your mind. You're taking a position that people are going to look to you on a panel as having something of value. And I mean, on almost every panel, there's one or two people who are like, I wrote a book. Please, it's 120 pages long. It's based on my grandfather stepping on my foot when I was a child, or whatever. It's just it's cringeworthy, So anyway, so I just say,
I really want to have Sean over for one of our elegant dinner parties at my house. I think he would be a hoot.
Free food? Are you kidding? I am so there. So yeah, I think we'd have. Yeah, I think we'd have. Okay, we'll talk about this. But anyway, so on the panel though, if you have something relevant to say or that just lean into the microphone and say it. And also lean into the microphone. Don't do one of these where it's far away and you can sort of hear. Put the microphone basically on. Yeah, exactly. Ladies know what I'm talking about. So when you, so that you're really in the, you're really in the in the room and they're really listening.
Now, how do you get yourself on a panel? For those of us who haven't been on a panel, how do you go about that?
How do you about getting invited to one?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, the first part. Yeah. Okay. Well, what you do? I found that most of the cons that I go to have a panel idea submission page. Go to the panel submission forms. Everything you can think of that would make an interesting panel. Come up with a cool title for it, which I'll explain how to do in a second, and have a description of it that would entice people, right? Wizards and dynamos, or something like that. The weird science of Nikola Tesla, something like that. So in the academic world, you learn that you always put like your little grabber title, colon, then more of an explanation of it, right? It's like the greatest, colon, Muhammad Ali and how he dealt with racism or whatever, right? So so it gets stuck in people's minds, which is great. And also the people doing the scheduling the panels are looking at you like, oh, well, this person knows how panels attract people. Seriously, it'll attract their attention, like the organizers, but they'll see that you have an eye for attracting people to the panel, and that's really the only thing that matters. It doesn't have to be directly con related. It doesn't have to necessarily be about superheroes or whatever. Like I said, like the Nikola Tesla thing. That's something that I know that con people and nerds in general like, and I'm writing books on it, so I proposed it. If I can do one last kind of summary piece of advice to the authors out there is just to treat people at the con like interesting people, not dollar signs. That would be, and then, and then they feel relaxed with you and they'll look at your stuff.